I'm better left alone than in this. It doesn't surprise me. Do you really think that I could care if you really don't like me? Find somebody else, it could be anyone else out there. No friends, I don't ever wanna see you and I never wanna miss you again. One thing, when you're angry, you're a trick and then you treat me like a worth nothing.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It is Monday, April 17th, 2023, and you're listening to episode 161 of the Can I Say Something podcast. I'm your host and a recluse with a juicy caboose, Damian. Joining me today is...
Derek McDuff.
On today's show, the best show on television had its best episode ever this week. Succession.
Wait a minute. They
Yes.
re-aired The Constant from Lost? That's crazy.
No, sir. It was Succession, Season 4, Episode 3, Connor's Wedding. Intrepid Hollywood reporter Dion and I will break it all down later. But before that, we will be discussing what we've been watching, reading, listening to, including the Dark Side of Magic trilogy, Yellow Jackets, the Super Mario Brothers movie, and much, much more. Right into the show, Can I Say Something podcast at gmail.com. Bicycle on Twitter, subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcast, Spotify. Rate and review it on Apple Podcast. Tell a friend, family member, stranger. What's up, man? How are we doing?
Not too bad. Doing pretty good.
Nice. I just turned off my AC. I just told you before we started recording that it was 75, 80 degrees here, which doesn't sound a lot, but I'm in a studio apartment and it's on the second floor, and I turned off my AC.
That's literally a cold day for me. What are you talking about?
Well, yes, but here's the thing. Hear me out, right? I just mentioned second floor, right? So
I'm on the second floor.
Okay, all right, but you got to factor in the humidity, you got to factor in the wind, you got to factor in the barometer. Right? All of
There's
that
no
stuff.
wind in your apartment. What are you talking about?
Lack of wind, my friend. Lack of wind. No movement. No air movement means the air is stale. And in about 45 minutes, my
yeah. Meanwhile, I've got my windy ass apartment over here. What are you talking about?
The wind, man. The wind. It makes it stagnant. You can feel the stagnant air from outside. It comes in. Anyway, so yeah, it's very, very warm here. So how about we get going before I'm just a puddle of sweat over here?
Okay. All right. Yeah. It would be a tragedy if it went into
Yes.
a temperate climate for you there.
Temperate climate, exactly. We were talking last time about antagonistic, inflammatory articles. I think the last time we came here, we talked about the top 70 best animated shows of all time. I think there were some in there that were like, yeah, that's fine, but most of them were, way too low. I think Airbender was way too low. Legend of Korra was way too low. A bunch of shows were way too low. We had this week The Hollywood Reporter. Let me scroll up and see the bylines. You've got the bylines on this article here. We've got a bunch of them. John Frosch, David Rooney, Sherry Linden, a bunch of people I've never heard of, Jordan Minster, did an article entitled Hollywood Reporter Critics Pick the 50 Best Films of the 21st Century So Far. We've had a couple of these already, right? We're 23 years into the century so far. So I think they've done one around the 2020, 2021, they did one, but it's another one just because they have to fill the dead airwaves, have to have news, have to have something to talk about, right, all the time. So they did a top 50 so far, movies so far this year. Did you have a chance to look this over, and what was your opinion of it?
I didn't look at this. I don't care. I mean, I don't know. The only thing I've seen is just people being really mad that Black Panther was on the list. People are like, how dare they?
Yeah.
Really, they put Black Panther at 49 out of 50? That is insane. How dare they include an MCU property? I'm like, it's a fucking good movie. Shut the hell up.
It's a very good movie. It's one of the few blockbusters, one of the few, let's just say, MCU films to be nominated for Best Picture. I believe is the only one, right? They didn't.
It is, yeah.
They didn't.
The Academy hates the Oscar, or the Academy hates Marvel.
Year of Endgame, I think it was only I think Endgame got sound editing. It got some technical Oscars, but didn't get into the best of the year.
They've never won an above the line Oscar.
Right.
That's why Angela Bassett lost this year.
Right. True. I'm just scrolling through here real quick. Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always. It was number 42. That was my favorite movie of that year. I don't believe we've ever talked about that movie. Have you seen Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always?
You talked to me about it. I haven't seen it, but you mentioned it many a time on this show.
Very, very good
I need to watch it.
Yeah. Pan's Labyrinth came in at number 41. Let's see. Bunch of social.
I haven't heard of some of these movies.
bunch of social issue movies. Summer of Soul and I Am Not Your Negro was 40 and 39. I've seen both of those. Those are very good. Children of Men sitting at 38. That's too low. I mean, let's get into it. Let's talk about this. A lot of pretentious stuff again on the list. 38 is probably, or Children of Men is probably one of the least pretentious movies on here. I've seen that movie multiple times.
That is a very pretentious movie.
What is?
Everything Alfonso Children of Men? Are you kidding me? Everything Alfonso Cuarón makes is fucking pretentious.
That is one of the most rewatchable movies of the 2000s. What are you talking about right now?
You just think that because you're pretentious, Damian.
You are pretentious. Listen, so I want to talk about this. This phrase pretentious, right? So on our letterbox, you're the one who said it. I didn't say it. I say what?
You said pretentious. You were the one who said the word first.
Okay, I said the word first, but you claimed I am the most pretentious. But we have an equal number of pretentious movies in our top 4 on Letterboxd. You and I both have a movie called Portrait of a Lady on Fire, and I would argue, right, that 99% of people in this country and probably the rest of the world.
That's not in my top 4.
Is it not? You took it off?
That's not in my top 4. You took it off? It's never been in my top. It might have been for like a second. No, it's. You want to know my top 4? I can fucking tell you right now. It's Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Jurassic Park. Princess Mononoke, which, it's foreign, but whatever. And then Amadeus, which is like super fucking mainstream. It won like 1,000 Oscars.
Well, yeah.
That's the most pretentious one I've got on my list is fucking Amadeus, which is a movie based on a play that's fucking great that everyone loves.
I could have sworn I was looking at your thing the other day and it was on there.
It's been that for like 6 months. That exact top 4. Sometimes I'll switch around the number 4 spot. The 3 never switch.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I thought that was on there, but you enjoy.
I do love that movie. It's a great fucking movie.
You love that movie, and I would say, I think you would agree with this.
I'll own that. It's pretentious, but so is Children of Men. All right.
Children of Men, dude. What? Children of Men has so much more action. It moves. There's violence. There's one shots of. I mean, it literally moves. The camera literally moves everywhere. The
camera moves. That means it's not pretentious.
It's rotating.
Cameras can't rotate in pretentious movies. One shots don't exist in pretentious movies. I've never seen a pretentious movie in one shot.
Would you say, like, if this movie came out, if Children of Men came out, you wouldn't watch this halfway through? Like, oh my God, this is that moment when they're getting shot at and they have to leave that compound. Or it's the beginning of the movie where he's just walking through the city and there's bombs going off and you can clearly tell they're doing that showing not telling thing of Clive Owen just like not reacting to it. Like there's so many scenes in this movie where it's just like, holy shit, there's just so much going on in the background scene and the mid scene and the front of it. No,
none of that argument is dissuading me from thinking it's pretentious.
Okay, yeah.
Those things are all sound like pretentious film bro-y stuff to me. That doesn't. I'm not saying anything about the quality of the movie.
Right.
I'm saying it's a very pretentious movie. All Alfonso Cuarón's movies are fucking pretentious.
But what we have to do is say there's variations, there's degrees, and there's shades of pretentiousness, right? It's not okay. I'll agree with you that it's maybe it has pretentiousness in it, but not nearly as much as something like Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
It's less pretentious than probably any of his movies except for Harry Potter, I would say.
Yeah.
Which is a studio franchise movie. Thing.
Okay.
But I'd say all of his other movies are probably more pretentious than Children of Men, which I do think is pretty overrated. If I'm being honest, it's fine, but people fucking love that movie. Like film bros love that movie.
Yeah, they do. They very much do love that movie. 37, Wendy and Lucy, talking about Kelly Reichardt has a new movie out now called Showing Up with her muse, Michelle Williams. I went through all of her back catalog just recently. And Wendy Lucy was one of them, and it's a very good movie. We talk about pretentiousness. That's a very pretentious movie. Not a lot going on in there.
Yeah.
Let's see. Social Network is 34, talking about film bros. That's probably the most film bro-y movie, out there in existence.
Yeah.
And the movie...
It's very film bro-y.
The movie we were just talking about, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, is 33. That's way too low, in my opinion. What do you think?
I think that is definitely too low. But, I mean, here's the thing. Yes. Film is subjective. And as someone who, I brought this up last time when you were like, let's pick apart this list bit by bit. You could do that with lists, but everybody's going to have a different list, and nobody's list is going to be exactly the same as anyone else's. Someone might have something higher than you. Someone might have something lower than you, or higher or lower than the consensus. But what's important is just instead of being like, let me just look at this number And
Yeah.
instead of being like, oh, In the Mood for Love is number 8, it should be higher or lower. Well, let's see what they actually wrote about it. But nobody actually reads
The words.
anything, any of the words. They just look at the numbers and then they're like, click, move on.
Yes, exactly. Brokeback Mountain, number 7. Spirited Away, number...
Oh, yeah, you're like, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Continue doing that.
Yes, I will. Spirited Away, number 6. Mulholland Drive, number 5. Zodiac, number 4. That's a very film bro movie. Like, David Fincher's very, that's the second movie on here.
Yeah, it is.
Coen Brothers.
But I love it. It's my favorite Fincher movie.
Yes, I would say 2. Very close to Social Network. I think Social Network and Zodiac are 1 and 2. They can switch
What
positions.
did they say about Zodiac, Damien? What was his
A
argument?
lot of big words. It says something about a Tripitarte character study, something about ghoulish suspects. I'm not sure. I just zoomed right over that.
Right. As did everyone else who complained about this article.
With this mesmerizing slow boil thriller, Fincher didn't so much shatter genre molds as sneak up on them in the thick of night. His maneuvers as deft as they are methodical. That sentence is very pretentious, so that's why I moved past it. One of my favorite directors, probably my favorite living American directors, are the Coen Brothers. Inside Llewyn Davis is sitting at number 2. I think we even talked about the Coen Brothers, and you haven't seen Inside Llewyn Davis, correct?
I've covered it on my show. What are you talking about?
Oh, okay. I thought that was the one you didn't see. We should do a Coen Brothers. We should do a Coen Brothers top 5.
We should. Maybe it was a while ago because I didn't see it until like last year. Yeah. But we should do a Coen Brothers ranking. That'd be cool.
Absolutely.
I need to see some of their earlier stuff, but
yeah, I did go back recently. Oh, I say recently, I mean within the last 5 years, and finally saw what's the Nick Cage one? Raising Arizona. Finally saw.
Oh, right.
Saw their first one, which was not Miller's Crossing, the one with Frances McDormand.
Fargo.
No, it was way before. That was like 10 years before that.
Well, she's in like all of their movies. That isn't
many of them. She's in Fargo. She's in the one with George Clooney. The
Burn After Reading.
Burn After Reading, and also Hail Caesar.
That is a good movie. I need to cover that on Underrated at some point.
You should. So I saw Blood Simple, their first one in 1984. I saw Raising Arizona. I have the Criterion version of Miller's Crossing. Barton Fink is very good. Then Hudsucker Proxy. I've gone back and watched it a couple times. Not one of their best. Fargo is very good. Big Lebowski. People call that their favorite, and they would say that's one of their best. I'll go back and forth on that one. Old Brothers.
Oh, I love that movie.
Old Brother. I need to see more times to go through it. I remember liking it a lot. I think I saw Men Who Wasn't There once. I don't remember much about it. Intolerable Cruelty, I think, is the only one I haven't seen of theirs. Lady Killers I saw, which is probably the one of their
People
weakest.
do not like that one.
They don't. No Country is obviously my favorite movie of all time, so that's my number 1 pick for them. Oh well.
Spoiler, I guess. I guess we don't need to do that episode now.
We don't need to, no.
We just did it.
Burn After Reading, I need to rewatch. I haven't seen that in a long time. I love A Serious Man. That's one of the first times, probably the first time I saw Michael Stuhlbarg. True Grit is very good. Inside Llewyn Davis, we talked about. Hail Caesar is very good. Ballad of Buster Scruggs, very good. And Tragedy Macbeth is technically, it's one of theirs. It's one of the Coens.
It's like half of a Coen Bros.
Half a Coen, yep. So there's that. So yeah. Some numbers and some films with numbers next to their names on that list. Yeah. So yeah, a couple trailers came out this week. The Sympathizer is a movie starring Robert Downey Jr. It's going to be one of his first big post MCU roles. I think one of the first ones he did was that. What was that guy that loves animals?
Dr. Dolittle.
Dr. Dolittle, exactly. So that was whatever that was. I didn't see that. I don't know if you did.
Yeah, nobody did. Look at the box office numbers. No one ever saw that movie.
So this Sympathizer is going to be a HBO limited series coming out next year, 2024. It's going to be directed by Park Chan-wook, obviously starring Robert Downey Jr., Sandra Oh, some other people in it as well. Very good novel. I read that one and I read the sequel to it. Very good. Takes place in the 60s and 70s about a Vietnamese intelligence officer that was working for the Vietnamese government, but is pretending to work for the CIA at the same time. So yeah, love that stuff. I love noir, detective, noir, all that good stuff.
Did you ever say what number 1 on the list was, or did we just move past that?
Oh, the Hollywood Reporter thing. Number 1 was Yi Yi. It was an Edward Yang movie. It was a magnum opus, they're calling it. I did see it this year, maybe late last year. Did really like it. It's very long. It's lugubrious. It's reminds me of. What are you scoffing at my use of lugubrious?
No, you just talked a bunch of shit on the Hollywood Reporter for using a bunch of big words, and then you're like, I found it lugubrious.
That was what do you call that? Not sarcastic, but I was being
callback.
The callback, facetious? Yes, facetious. Thank you. I can't ever say that word, facetious. I was being facetious, yes. But yeah, it is slow. It's a slow moving character piece, and it's very lovely little movie by Edward Yang in 1999. Yep. So that was number 1. So
cool. I haven't seen it.
Haven't seen it. Yes. No. I think I got the DVD of Criterion. I think it was one of those sales I got.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, yeah, with me, and there's like a tweet I saw, and this just defines me. I can, whenever I'm like online and talking to film people, it's like either I'm when I mention a film, it's either basic for like the film bros or like too pretentious for everyone else. I'm in that fucking horrible middle ground where it's just like everyone's just like thinks I'm either very pretentious because I like Portrait of a Lady on Fire, which is a movie that is pretentious to a normal person, but to a film bro they're like, actually, if you really like Celine Sciamma, you really have to watch Tomboy, where the fuck know, some shit no one's ever heard of.
I basically try not to give a shit about any of that. I'm not going to say I don't, but I just look at a movie and I'm like, did this work in spite of the fact that it was slow? Did this hold my attention despite the rhythm of it? Portrait of Lady Fire definitely does, because you're waiting for the next scene. You're waiting for the next meeting between them two. You're waiting to see if they're going to be discovered. So you have to sort of go into a movie like that with that expectation of I can see based on the trailer, based on the subject matter, what kind of movie it's going to be. The same thing with The Power of the Dog. Bill Simmons called it The Power of the Nap, but it's like, bro, the director, her type of movie she is, the pace she works at. So, when I go into movies like that, I'm just like, I know what I'm getting. I think that's why I was so not stunned, but taken aback at your, when you're talking about, what was that horror thing you watched the other day? Or the Skinamarink. I was like,
Skinamarink?
Yeah, if you go into a thing like that, you're like, okay, this is going to be very, very, very slow and experimental. And
yeah. And I went to it knowing that, and it was... That didn't change the fact that it was super boring. I wanted to give it a chance.
Right.
I was like, you know what? I've heard this is very divisive, but I'll give it a chance. Maybe literally anything will happen. And then, that was incorrect.
Right. Yeah. And just going back to, how we sort of look at movies, it's, I'm trying to make my own decision, make my own mind up about these things, and I put my stuff out there. And if people don't like it, then that's fine, And I don't. Yeah. I try not to be like, okay, No Country for Old Men. Let's take that for example. One of the most popular movies of all time. It's won the Best Picture. It's a very popular movie. It's mainstreamish, as mainstream as the Coen Brothers get, and it's as mainstream as a Best Picture winner gets, right? But I'm still going to call it my favorite movie of all time because I love how it plays with the form and how it plays with the expectations of the hero winning. 99% of the time the hero wins, right? So I love that fact about it. I love that the main character isn't even the hero. 99% of the time the hero wins, and the hero is the main character. In this, it's Tom Lee Jones's character is the guy you follow throughout the story. So there's that fact in there. So yeah, they're just. You could say I'm just being a film bro by saying that's my favorite movie, but it is because of all those reasons that I just listed. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that about you. I'm just saying, just like what you like,
Like what you like, yes.
Yeah, and if you like the movie the Disney Channel original movie Motocrossed more than you like The Godfather,
sure, that's fine.
Then good for you. That's fine.
Literally fine, yeah.
Yeah, which is that's how I feel. I think The Godfather is slow and dumb and boring.
Sure, yeah.
It's not dumb. It's slow and boring though.
Slow, yeah.
But and Motocrossed is way ahead of its time in its gender representation.
Right.
But it's still a dumb. That is a dumb movie. But one works for me much better than the other, and it might not be the one that people expect.
Yes, exactly. Let's see. We also had a Marvel's trailer. I think, speaking of things that might not work for people. Yeah, I right now where I'm at with the MCU is just like, I'll watch it and I'll absorb it and I will just move on. My spirit has been broken. Not my body, but my spirit, as Bane would say. Ant-Man broke me. I think they are totally lost in the desert, lost in the wilderness in terms of what they're doing with the MCU as a whole and what they're doing with the movies in particular. I don't see this as being anything different from what they're doing right now in terms of just being like, we're not going to take everything seriously, because Endgame was very serious and it was dour and everything. No, I'm not going to say everything. A lot of things from Phase 4 have been just, we're not going to focus on the overarching thing, and we're going to make everything super funny and hilarious and make, Thor funny, and we're going to make Ant-Man funny. We're going to make, who else? Not really, Black Panther was very, for obvious reasons, so very much not that, but Ant-Man was that, Thor was that, Doctor Strange was that, many other things were that, and it's just, I don't know, I'm coming into this with very, 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 very low expectations. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. Unfortunately,
well, I didn't see the trailer because I don't like to watch trailers.
Sure,
I don't
yeah,
agree with your assessment overall of Marvel, but we don't have to get into that.
No, we don't. So that's out there. It's very strange. I mean, we can talk about like why would they put this out there now, because most of the time, right, they're putting out their trailers like 1 or 2 months before the movie. The movie was famously pushed back to November. That's like 6-7 months away from now. So why do we think they're putting the trailer out now?
So that people will know that it's coming out, and this is about when you come out with trailers, right? Like this is 6 months ahead of time or so. So, that's not out of the ordinary, I feel like, to be like, all right, like when did the Barbie trailer come out? Barbie's coming out in July, and we've had that trailer for like a year now or something. Maybe not that long, but a while,
Yeah, well, I mean, I was talking specifically about the MCU. The MCU and Marvel and movies like that generally keep their cards close to their chest when it comes to showing anything about their movies, right? I don't think you can look back and a lot of the trailers that have come out, it's generally, I think Black Panther had like a teaser trailer. The teaser trailers, come out earlier than the regular trailer, so I would expect a teaser trailer around now, but to have a full trailer like this now, like 7 months before the movie is pretty, it's not going by their usual playbook.
Yeah, well, I mean, it seems like they've been switching some stuff up, and maybe their films have been a little bit too top heavy, so they're doing, or front loaded, I should say, so they're doing well with the diehard fans, but they're trying to make sure that the moms out there know that this thing is coming out.
Yes, this could very well be. So yeah, the next thing I have on the list is talking about, what is the purpose of a critic. I have this on here. We talked a little bit about it already, but the Super Mario Brothers movie has one of the largest gaps between critics and regular folks, the regular Joe Schmoes out there on Rotten Tomatoes right now. Trying to pull up the Rotten Tomatoes score. I believe it has like a 94 audience rating and a 58 tomato meter rating. I believe that was a lot less than it was like a week ago. But there was a bunch of people on TikTok talking about this. Jay Stubbs was specifically talking about this of like, again, talking about going into a movie and what your expectations are, and then coming out of the movie and being like, yeah, that met my expectations. That you weren't. Most people shouldn't be going into this movie expecting, like you said, The Godfather. It shouldn't be like the plot is going to be really intricate and the character development is going to be very robust, right? It's not what you go into this for. So if those things aren't there, then you give it a 96 because it met those expectations, right?
Well, so I feel like this is a fundamental misunderstanding of how Rotten Tomatoes work, because it's an aggregate and people don't understand that. And Rotten Tomatoes is also really bad for detecting subtlety, because if a critic gives it a C+, it treats it the same as an A+, and if it gives it a C-, it's the same as giving it an F. So it loses a lot of that subtlety. And then also, I just think that this is a bad movie. And don't watch it. It sucks. It's a really bad movie.
Okay, you want to do it while we've been watching it right now? You can tell me why.
Yeah, I mean,
that.
we can get to it, but like you're bringing up Mario Bros. Like I don't know. What's your question? I guess.
Like, well, like I said, like and you went to this movie, right? Not expecting very much. So then if you went in with low expectations and it didn't even meet those, then, what was your expectations going? Yeah, what was your expectations going into this?
My expectations is that it would be a movie with it would be kind of a dumb movie, but maybe fun, and it would have a semblance of a plot or characters that made sense, and it would not just be a fodder for YouTube Easter eggs of just how many references can we put in this, to the point where we just need to, we need to go to this place. Why? Because Donkey Kong is there. Okay. Well, now we need to go back over here. All right, cool. Let's go back. But wait, we have carts and we'll take the Rainbow Road. Why? Because it's in the games. There's literally no other reason for us to be doing it. Like, it's just a constant barrage of references and things, which is fine. I appreciate that stuff.
Right.
But only when it makes sense and it's not detracting from the story. And no one in this movie has an arc. No one, like, I think they forgot. Did they forget that Luigi was the one who had the arc of being scared, because they gave that redemption beat to Mario? I'm like, he wasn't the one this is a movie. Like, people are like, oh, well, it's a kid's movie. It's a kid's movie. Sure, there's plenty of good kids movies. There's plenty of kids movies that I, as an adult man, have enjoyed and watched them in my 30s and be like, this is a good movie that I enjoyed. This was not that. This was just bright, colorful nonsense that, sure, kids will probably enjoy, especially kids who like Mario. But for me, it was completely lacking on it. Like, I was listening to the film cast, and that one comparison they made a lot was to the Super Mario, or to the Lego movie, a movie that also stars Chris Pratt, where he actually gives a performance in that movie. And the thing they kept bringing up is like, yeah, this is a film that is based on a beloved IP that has been around for many, many years, and a lot of people who were kids when they had this thing that they played with, now it is like kind of repaying them. And watching the Lego movie as an adult, you're like, wow, this is so good. This makes me nostalgic for my childhood. Watching the Mario movie as an adult, you're like, wow, there's Mario.
Yeah,
that's it.
Like,
what else is there to say other than, Mario was in that movie. Somehow it's worse than the Bob Hoskins one. I did not think that was possible.
Right.
It's astounding.
Did you revisit that one recently for the underrated?
I did.
Yeah.
I did it for underrated like a year ago. I revisited it for a different pod.
Right.
I was on my friend's podcast, Common Ride with me.
Yes,
we talked about it for a bonus episode.
Yep.
But yeah.
So
astoundingly bad.
Yes, I haven't seen it, but I agree with the assessment that it is, could be better. Like, 10 years ago, right? If this movie comes out 10 years ago, it'll probably get a better rating, because there isn't, Lego movie to compare it to. There isn't Spider-Verse to compare it to. When you say there's a lot of movies for kids. They were talking about this on the Big Pick, which is there are movies that are targeted towards kids. And so, yes, you're correct in saying there are kids movies. What I think they're missing is are there good kids movies, quote unquote good kids movies, right? So I'm just, as you were talking, I'm going through the list of movies that were released last year that are quote unquote for kids, and some of them that were well received. Puss in Boots was well received last December. I still got to catch up on that. Probably will pretty soon. Sea Beast was one of the highly rated ones. League of Super Pets was highly rated, but then there's so much more that is just dumpster fire stuff. Like, yeah,
there's always bad kids that, like, go back and rewatch the stuff we watched as a kid. Like 90% of it is terrible. Like, The Land Before Time holds up, but like not a lot of it. A lot of it's not good.
I don't know about that. I mean, we were growing up. I mean, maybe you're a little younger than I am, but I grew up in the quote unquote golden age of Disney. So I think we had a lot of very good Disney movies.
There's a lot of really good stuff, but like, go back and rewatch The Land Before Time 3, Damian.
Yeah.
Go back and rewatch like any of the multitude of Disney knockoffs that were horrible, There's a lot of bad stuff constantly. There's always some gems. There's always a talking red or turning red every year.
Yes.
But like there's always going to be a lot of bad stuff too. And with kids movies, it's not like it's new that there's lots of bad kids movies.
Yeah.
It's just, we either think of them nostalgically or just completely forget them. And lump them in with the good ones that we tend to remember a little bit more.
Yeah, I think, you could sort of extrapolate that to the conversation we were having a couple of weeks ago about the prestige TV, where there's going to be prestige TV, and I agree with you that there will be, but it's going to be harder to find. Like I say that same thing about kids movies. There's going to be those good to great kids movies. It's going to be harder to find, just like everything else.
Yeah, I mean, there is just more content now than there was back then, for sure.
Yes, so I'm just going through the list. I think my problem is, and a lot of people's problem is, like the IPification of everything. So like Hotel Transylvania is one of those. The thing I was going to say is, before I forget, is I think the mark of a great movie for kids, quote unquote, for kids, again, it's just, shorthand for whatever. We don't know what a kids movie is. Belle is technically a kids movie, but that was, for adults too. A great kids movie is going to be a movie where, what's up?
We talk about the Belle movie that came out last year, or talk about Beauty and the Beast?
The Belle movie that came out last year, the anime movie. Yep.
I didn't see that. I didn't know that was a kids movie. Okay.
Yeah. It does no sex violence, none of that. So I would show that to like a 9-year-old. Okay. So I was going to say a great kids movie is a movie that adults won't mind watching 30 times. That's a pretty good, barometer for what a quote unquote good to great kids movie is, right?
Yeah, that's why I get parents all the time coming in looking for Bluey books, because they're like, oh my God, I can watch this. This is emotionally intelligent and funny. Yes. I mean, I haven't watched it. I don't have any kids and I never will. But parents are loving Bluey.
Exactly. Emotionally intelligent, has deeper themes running through it. Yes, exactly. So, and those things, that element, I think, is a missing from more and more animated things being put out there. I would say, you said, there's many good things being put out there. I would say that one specific quality of, does it speak to deeper and more adult oriented themes? I think that one through line is missing from a lot of stuff being put out there right now.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like I said, there's always good and there's always bad.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's get to what we've been watching. Before I forget, I'm going to throw right now real quick to one of the best episodes of TV right now. I'm putting my foot down, plant my flag right now. Let me ask you this before I throw it to it. You're not somebody that watched Succession, so did you have this ruined it for you, and were you pissed off? What happened?
No, so don't tell me anything.
Okay, all right. I will not. That is impressive, though. I want to say right now that is impressive. Being somebody that I imagine is as online as I am, to be as online you are, and not having to ruin, that's impressive. Very good. Good job.
Yeah, I mean, I had everything from Game of Thrones ruined for me. Yeah. So I'm somehow. So I'm sure this will be ruined for me at some point, unless I get to watch it immediately. But
yeah. Did you specifically avoid places that were putting it out there? Did you put a ban on the word Succession in your search terms?
No, I mean, I feel like it's less spoil. Like, I don't know, stuff that's more spoilery is more genre stuff. Like Game of Thrones or something like that, where it's just like, oh, there's this big, they're very like fantasy or sci-fi things. It's, or like Marvel stuff or Star Wars, like The Mandalorian. I'm always getting spoiled. Like, I always watch The Mandalorian and Ted Lasso come out every week on Wednesday. Yeah. I never have to worry about any Ted Lasso spoilers, but I always have to worry about Mando spoilers, because those kind of people, I feel like the people who are spoiling The Mandalorian are online and spoiling things a lot more than the people who watch Ted Lasso or Succession. Yeah,
they were talking about this on the Prestige podcast about how a lot of the headlines in like major newspapers like LA Times and a lot of places like that had the event and what happens in it spoiled. I like the headline of it. So yeah, it was like everywhere. I'll throw to our conversation right now with me and Dion talking about season 4, episode 3, Connor's Wedding. Joining us today, the prestigious, intrepid Hollywood reporter, Dion. What's up, man? How are you doing?
Hey, man, I'm great. Prestigious, huh? Thank you. You must value my opinion.
Yes, I upgraded you to prestigious. Prestigious Hollywood reporter.
I made it, guys. I fucking made it.
You fucking made it, man. So we're here today to honor and show love to the great man of Succession, one of the great iconic characters of all time. We're here to talk about Succession Season 4, Episode 3, Connor's Wedding, directed by Mark Mylod, written by creator and showrunner Jesse Armstrong. So they brought out the big guns for this one for a very particular reason. Big, huge, all the spoilers for this episode and really all episodes of Succession. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, turn this shit off right now. This is going to be the entire segment of the show. All the spoilers in this episode. Logan Roy, the patriarch of the family, of the Roy family, the CEO of Waystar Royco, died on a plane at 30,000 feet. The king is dead. Long live the king. Dion, what'd you think of this episode?
I've never seen an episode of television like this one.
Right.
It was such a realistic depiction of like what an abrupt and untimely death felt like. Felt like you were watching a tragedy unfold. You know, the great Logan Roy might be dead. Oh wait, no, he just feels ill. It's fine. Oh wait, no, he collapsed. No, he just needed to take a shit. No. Chest compressions? We're at chest compressions now?
Right.
Well, I mean, he's breathing a little bit. Oh, no, actually, he's probably not. I'm going to put you against his ear.
Yeah. So, the episode starts off with, it seems like, Logan's going to be fine. He's doing his machinations. He's been sick for a while, so we've seen this coming, right? Just to set the stage, right. We've seen this coming. The entire show has been about this. The show is called Succession for a reason. One of these kids is going to take over, wants to take over, right? That was the entire premise of the show from the very beginning. Jeremy Strong said in that extra feature thing on HBO Max, he said he was surprised when Jesse told him, and it made sense dramaturgically. So it's like, bro, we're talking about human emotions here, and you have, of course, bust out the dramaturgically, right? That's just him.
Hey man,
that's him as a person.
Theater boy, come on, cut him some slack, right?
Right, that's what a lot of people were saying of like, people have been making fun of him for doing the method acting thing for a long time, but apparently it pays off, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, in this episode, it definitely paid off. We had Snook and Culkin. They were like, "Oh man, it's hard to separate what's real and fake. It's hard to compartmentalize what's going on and leave it on the set." And then you got Jeremy Strong like, no, I killed my own parents just to stay in the mood for the 2 weeks until we get this episode pounded out. Yeah, I'm set. I'm good to go.
Yeah. Connor, I forget the actor's name, but he was talking about how he didn't really have to act in that scene. Like, you see his face, you see when Shiv is there telling him the news, and his face just drops, and she's just there, and he's like, he was probably said the most like coherent and I don't want to say sincere, but most authentic and most, well put together things that he said, that anybody said in this episode. A lot of it was, Shiv and Roman and Kendall just being like, fuck you, you're a piece of shit. I love you, but I hate you.
I love you,
but
Daddy, no.
Yeah. Connor, he was like, he never loved me. He never liked me. I never got his approval. Like he never made him proud. It's just like, Jesus. So then the whole part near the end where he's talking to his wife and he's like, my dad is dead and I feel old. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah, I know. I mean, this is like the second episode in a row that Connor's kind of like definitely come out as I don't know, the most self-aware Roy, yes.
He's the oldest, so he has like the closest, he knows, okay, he died, I'm probably next, right? Because he's the oldest, he's the closest next to death amongst the three kids, so it makes sense that it would, hit him that hardest. Just staying on the Connor thing, early on in the episode, we learned that, when he had his mother, or when his mother was institutionalized by Logan, he ate cake for like a week straight. So that was where the loony cake came from.
Loony cake.
And now he's having more cake at his wedding when his dad dies.
He's being pulled away from an argument about cake.
Yeah.
His war on cake continues.
Yeah, yeah. So your kryptonite is kids in danger. Mine is dead dads. So, anytime this shit gets brought up, I'm just like, oh, whew. And I watched this at work. I made the mistake of watching this at work. Like, you were like, this is an incredible episode. I'm like, okay, I'll be fine. This is going to be fine. I'm going to watch this at work on my phone. Nope. Barely holding myself together watching these people, go through the same thing I did. Lion King, stuff like that, About Time, Field of Dreams. That hits me hard. We were talking about Field of Dreams for our movie cage match thing, and you're like, yeah, it's fine, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And watch the end. He's like, hey Dad, you want to have a catch? And you're like, yeah, he wants a catch. So what? I'm like, it's the fucking thing in the movie.
I can't even.
Yeah, I couldn't even.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So where does this, this is a very recent episode. We're just coming down from the high of this. Where do you, Dion? I'm going to put you on the spot here, but I'm going to give you some jumping off points here. Where do you put this in your best episodes of TV of all time? We have, Ozymandias from Breaking Bad, Randy Castamere from Game of Thrones, The Dinner Party and The Office. Good place reveal for you right now. Where do you put this in your pantheon of best TV shows, best TV episodes of all time?
Man, that's a good question. Not really, just a loose estimation. I'd say probably 3, could be 2.
3, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It was just like how it made me feel, man. It was it felt like this slow trickle of information. It felt like a catastrophe. Like everybody's just catching news at the same time, and there's like panic. There's hysteria. It was just this weird mirror of how we get information these days, and you got this titan of industry, Logan Roy, and it's just like, what would be the equivalent of him in the world? I mean, that's basically what we were looking at, and this is like the parents or the kids finding out, but then like there was that leak, and then slowly the world's finding out. Like you could tell the stock's dropping, and it's like, oh, there's Dad.
Yes.
But yeah, just how it presented itself. Like awesome job from the writers on this one, the showrunners, because it's just the way that it was presented was just amazing. So yeah, easily in my top 3 of TV episodes I've seen.
Yeah, what, like you said, great writing. What the best writing can do and what the best projects can do is, make you hate somebody, make them a villain, make them despicable people, but then have like one episode where you're like, oh man, I feel bad for them, even though they're the worst people in the world. The Bear did this. Because
at the base, this is someone's dad dying, and trying to come to terms with that. And not to mention all this bad blood that was never resolved. Like he actually apologized in the last episode, but it was like this Logan Roy apology, like I don't know how to apologize, sorry you feel bad kind of. But like that's the closest they got to reconciliation, and then you got this happening. It's like shit, now it never happens, and that's something they're all gonna have to come to terms with, and I don't think they all can, honestly.
Do you think the real life people, like the what's the guy, the CEO of Fox News, like basically that's what Logan Roy is based off of. Do you think his family will be going through something like this? Robert Murdoch, thank you. Yeah. Do you think his kids and his family will be going through something as introspective and as emotional when he dies? Or do you think the real life people are even more emotionless husk of human beings, that they can't even feel feelings like this?
I mean, I bet they hold that man to like an impossible standard. Like they'll definitely be distraught about it. Like, but in a way, yeah, it is. There is the emotionless husk thing, but there at like I said before, at the base level, it is someone's father dying. So yeah, I could see that happening. Yeah,
and it's something that they're not equipped for, because their whole life they've just thrown money at their problems, right? They just have a problem, oh, throw some money at it. And this is the one thing that you can't throw money at. Like Kendall was going through that whole, like, give me the best doctors, give me the best heart surgeons, give me the best thing, the best of that, and make sure this whole thing's taken care of. And he's like, you can't do it. Sorry, son. The Frank was telling him, sorry, son. And those little tidbits of like, well, let me finish the Rich point. You know, you can't buy that stuff. He's trying to talk to the pilot to get him to come down quicker, and he's trying to get, you know, the best heart surgeons, and he's trying to organize the stuff and trying to throw money at it, throw his power behind it. But, you know, he's realizing, oh, this is that one thing that you still can't control is, you know, people dying, right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Just like you said it.
Yeah, he those little flourishes and those little bits of seasoning throughout the episode where you see these people, you know, talking to each other in the way that they almost never do. You have Kendall saying, "Come here, Shiv, baby," or whatever, "Shiv, honey," right? As he's bringing her with him. You have Frank,
being comforting and everything.
Yes,
like a bigger brother, like an older brother.
Yeah. Frank was saying, "I'm sorry, son. You know, he's gone. His heart stopped. You know, son, this is it." He's calling him son. Those are just little flourishes that you see in there when shit really goes sideways, and they really have to, like, you know, drop all the pretenses of like being assholes to each other and just be siblings to each other, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, even when it kicked off, Tom trying to get a hold of Shiv, and Shiv was sending a voicemail and everything, and he tried over and over to do it. And even when, like, he got a hold of Romulus, he was asking about Shiv, because, like, you could tell his focus on was how is she going to take the news, you know? So, like, that, for this moment, like, they're going through their divorce and everything, or separation or whatever it is at this current moment. But it's like, he put that aside because, like, like, in his eyes, like, she kind of took priority. So even though they were beefing, you know, and even Tom too, like, when he was talking to Greg, right? Like, he had that awesome scene where he was, like, going from kind of like this hysteria, like, you got to delete this folder, blah, 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 blah. And then he goes to crying. He's like, no, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. Like, the whole facade just dropped. It's just crazy how a big asshole like that could impact so many people on such an emotional level.
Yes, well said. You know, the other thing, Carrie, in that scene, fucking Logan's side piece comes out of the bathroom or the back room, whatever. She's like, wow. She's like smiling, and she's like, wow, that was crazy. That was crazy. She's just like, what? What is the matter with you?
You could have blood
woman?
Dripping off her face and put an axe in her hand, and it has the same, like, impact. Like, that's what I thought immediately when she came out. She's like, "Whoa, he's fucking dying back there. Weird. What happened?
Weird. What is going on right now?" Yeah, fucking Tom's face, like, what the fuck?
The Christian Bale in American Psycho. Yeah, that's what I saw. But yeah, like the balding, what the fuck? She's clearly in shock.
I guess, yeah. Jesus. So, yeah, just an incredible episode of TV. You know, I was going to mention a little bit earlier, but the thing that great writing does is it allows you to set up, you know, absolutely venomous and poisonous and just the worst people you can ever imagine, watching them week to week and being like, fuck all these people. But then I think I mentioned the bear from last year had this just piece of shit character named Richie, cousin Richie, played by Eben Moss-Bacharach. Just a tyrant, just a piece of shit. And in the second to last episode, he gets, you know, somebody tears into him, and just she's saying stuff like, you know, this is why your brother doesn't love you. This is why your dad left. This is why this shit happened to you, because you're a piece of shit. Just tears into him, and he's just sitting there like, okay, all right, stop it. And just like, oh man, it's the same thing here. We're just like confronted with the most vile people you can imagine. And then one episode, one event, you know, in their life, you can be like, oh, okay, they didn't deserve that, you know.
Yeah, too far.
It's
and
too
you
far.
know what? Another thing too, like you're talking about this emotional impact that it had on everybody there. Like just right up to the end, Logan Roy was just doing asshole Loganish things. He could have had this whole episode at his son's wedding that he intentionally ditched, you know, around people. He could have died around people that actually cared about him, and everybody could have had like this weird closure thing. There would have been no like, oh, is he not like, is he breathing? Like, what are we doing? Like, he could have died with people that loved him, and he chose to just be an asshole and ditch his son's wedding and just did it in the most Logan Roy way possible. It's just this weird contrast to how everybody reacted to the news and what could have been from like if he had actually gone to that wedding.
Yeah, I mean, it mirrors a lot of the stuff. The last time we see him mirrors sort of the first time we see him. He's sick. He's dying in the first couple episodes. And then Kendall and everybody there are there to be by his bedside. And when he wakes up, he's like, what the fuck are you people doing here? And he's like, well, he almost died. We wanted to be here. He's like, fuck that. Do business. There's business to be done. Why are you all, circling around me when there's deals to be made? And it's just like, okay, well, he died the way he lived, doing business,
Gotta make the sale, you lily liver fuck.
The last thing he said to Roman was like, fire Jerry. And it's just so fucked up that, if
he actually said it.
Well, yeah, but it's fucked up that if Roman waited like an hour, he wouldn't have had to do that.
Right.
Would have been a completely different dynamic when he's like going into that room and Jerry's there and he's like, I need the room. And she's putting on her shoes and he's like, I'm sad. I feel sad. I feel numb. And she's just like, fuck off.
Right.
It could have been such a different... Yeah, give me a hug. And she's like, no, fuck you. It could have been such a different, outcome and such a different situation there if he had just waited like, an hour before he told her that,
Yeah. Well, I mean, in a way, we can't forget that Roman kind of deserves that shit. One of the reasons why Logan finally said, hey, tell Jerry that she's fired, is for Roman sending her unsolicited dick pics. Jerry has every right to be pissed off and not give him a hug because he feels bad. But
I mean, there was that.
It's like,
yeah.
But then you had like the other side of that, like Tom when he was telling Greg that he's going to have to go onto his computer and delete the what do you call it, like the folder that's marked Intel or something like that. I don't forget.
Yeah.
But like he was supposed to be cutting people too, and because Logan died. He's like, all right, delete that personnel files or whatever. Like maybe we can hold off on like firing people right now because we need stability right now. So he was like, what Roman probably wishes he could have done. Like I didn't want to tell Jerry this, and now it just compounded all these other issues that Roman had going on. And Tom kind of got like an easy way out. It was like, oh, he's dead. I haven't fired anybody yet. Maybe I don't have to fire anybody.
Yeah,
it worked out for him.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. Downer episode, obviously not a lot of, quippy lines, but somebody was mentioning in the background of like, Scrooge, Peter Scrooge was, cast in a bad light. He was a job creator. It's like, fuck all you people. Just a job creator. Oh man. So yeah, just incredible. One of the best episodes of TV of all time, really.
Yep. I agree. Do you have like a standout performance from it?
Yeah, I mean, they were all so fucking good. I think Sarah Snook, when she was told about that again, the little like, leaks of humanity from these people of like, is it mom? And you see what her priority was, not thinking about her dad. Sarah was obviously incredible in that. I think the reactions from Jeremy Strong on the phone, again, like we're talking about this, but we haven't really mentioned like he died in a plane. They're all trying to figure out what's going on by the phone. So it was very much like, this is what death looks like in 2023 of like somebody can die far away and you have to sort of coordinate by the phone. Man, I mean, they were all incredible. Like I think, you said, I think we mentioned Connor was, sort of the linchpin of the whole thing, where it's his wedding and him with talking to Willa and them having that conversation. So yeah, I think to answer your question, I think it was Tom and Willa, where she's like, are you with me for the money? And instead of saying no, she's like, well, it's nice. The security is nice, and all of this lifestyle is nice. So
I'm not going to run.
I'm not going to run today. Today, I'm going to stay with you. There was a little, like, people were going through this with a fine-tooth comb, and they're like, she written vows for herself, and Connor wrote vows. So there is some authentic love there. If you zoom out, you can see she had bridesmaids with her, and there was 3 empty chairs where his siblings would have been. So that was interesting. So yeah, I think standout performance, standout character arc, and character performance. Probably was Connor for me. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. It was the same thing. Just the last 2 episodes really turned me into a con head. I mean, he's the only one that's not babbling like an idiot most of the time. He still manages to bag his dream girl at the end of the episode, and he shakes that monkey off his back of needing his father's love or anything like that. The respect, like he at the end, he's like sitting there with Willa, and they get married, and like it almost feels like, hey, Connor can now move on. The other 3, they got to figure out their own shit. But Connor, in this moment, he's probably as happy as he's ever been.
Yeah, and it was interesting, and it was telling that Kendall and Roman found out, and they were talking to him for a while before getting Shiv, right? But then they don't even really think about Connor right up until the last, few moments.
Oh, yeah, everything. He was an afterthought. You're at Connor's wedding, and he was an afterthought for everything.
Yes, which is very telling. What was I going to say? Yeah, the Jeremy Strong on the phone when he's talking to, was he talking to Frank? And he's like, is he gone? Is he gone? And the fucking face he makes, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Kudos to Frank for actually telling him too. You're like, hey man, I'm gonna be real with you right now. Yeah, I think he's gone. That's what's the one thing Tom refused to say. He would just would not say Logan is dead or anything. But he's like, this guy's been I've been near this guy for the last 30 years. Yeah, I don't feel good saying it, but yeah, he's probably gone.
Oh, the fucking quick cut to a person's face was Logan's driver. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
Jesus. Just like a lost puppy dog. Just like, where's my master?
He's the one that took it the hardest out of everybody.
Yes.
Hilarious.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I could see Logan too. He's nonverbal, but he's hearing everybody. And the whole time he's just like, oh, what's my driver? When's my driver get on? I want to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
So where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Well,
how do you see the last 7 episodes playing out?
They are going to want to, the 3 kids, Kendall, Shiv, and Roman, they're going to vie for CEO-ship. I think the old guard are going to vie for that as well. I think they teased a lot of the next season, the rest of the season, with Connor running for president. Maybe not. Maybe he wants to slide in there. Tom is going to be on the outs because that was his anchor. His anchor was Shiv, and his anchor was with Logan being on his side, being his right-hand man. So without Logan, that really kicks Tom out to the sidelines a lot. And you saw that in the preview of them saying of Tom asking, he must have asked what do you think about chances of getting CEO? And the guy was like, honestly, you kind of suck. You're kind of riding the coattails, and you're kind of a nobody. You kind of got no business experience. So overall, pretty shit potential for you to be CEO. And he's like, wow, that's brutally honest. It's like, yeah, well, you asked for it. But yeah, overall, it's going to be, this is probably, what the reason it was the thing we've been waiting for, right? They've been vying for the position, but it wasn't really realistic with Logan still in the seat. And now it is very much about somebody actually getting the seat because there's nobody there to say, well, I'm going to sit here for a while. I'm not going to actually retire. So very, very interesting to see what's going on. Going to be very interesting to see, again, who's going to sit on the Iron Throne at the end of this.
Do you think they fight each other?
Yeah, they're going to have to, right? I mean, if I was in this position,
you think about it. You think about it though, because on the plane, there was that group that Tom was a part of. I forget who the other people in you had Frank, you had the other guy, and you had this woman, and they're like, we need to draft a statement. We need to do the professional business end of this. Logan Roy died. We need to have a statement to give to people, and then when you a little bit of a flashback when Logan Roy was saying, you guys, you're not serious people. He's talking to his kids. You're not serious. You just like saying the biggest numbers sometimes. You just like doing things to piss me off. You're not serious. Could you see that group of people vying, somehow edging them out, and they end up with nothing?
Yeah, because you have the two groups, the two factions are the old guard, the seasoned veterans of Carl. Let me see. Carl, Frank, Carolina. Well, Carolina's kind of the younger ones of them, but Frank, Carl, who was else on the board there? the board obviously will appoint somebody eventually. Who else was in there? Carl, Tom. Who was on the plane? Carl, Tom, Frank, Carolina.
It was Carolina. You had Carrie. She was
Carrie. She's not a serious person.
Yeah, no, she was in the bedroom. Yeah, she's not.
Was
serious.
Carl on the plane? Carl was on the plane, right?
Carl's on the plane. He's not the security guy. Who was the security guy?
Here, the security guy. You mean his driver?
No. The guy that was on the boat. I'm thinking that guy. Yeah, I think that you named everybody that was on the plane.
The plane, yeah. So you have that group. That group's going to stick together. That group's going to try to put somebody forward from that group, right? And then you're going to have somebody. You're going to have Roman, Shiv, and Kendall. They're going to have to hash that out. I was just going to say, like, if I'm in this group, I'm just like, whatever. I'm set for life. I don't really care. Just let me have my input. The CEO is going to drive the boat, but it's just whatever. Let me be VP. Let me be like second in command, second or third command, whatever. Kendall's probably going to vie for it strongest. If I had to guess right now, put my money on who's going to sit in there in the throne at the end of this, probably Roman. I mean, Roman seems like the one that really thinks he can get it, and he's probably going to be the most heartless one. He's probably going to be the one that's going to make the deal at the end. Like he's the closest to what's Skarsgård's character's name? I always forget, but he's the closest to him.
Madison,
right? Madison, thank you. So he's the closest to him. I think he's the closest, and the one with the most. What do you call that? Current day media savvy, tech savvy, with all the stuff that the mergers and all that. I think that he's going to convince enough people that he has the quote unquote right stuff to be the leader.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, like he does have good intuition, but he does get swayed very easily. Like
yes,
like damn, his brother and sister basically. Yeah. Got him like off doing the safe thing to do like the more risky thing for a bigger payoff. He's like, fine, fuck it, whatever. If you grill him hard enough, he cracks. Think about this step, right? Connor. Yeah. Remember how he was saying like doing all these scenarios for the wedding and he just wanted to make a splash? Like, I got to get out there. Like, no press is bad press, basically.
Yeah.
This is this his press event, Like Logan Roy died. Like, is this his push to be taken seriously as a competitor for president of the United States? Imagine him becoming the CEO and the president. Man, unprecedented. Amazing.
Right. Yeah. Among the people that are gonna like not be swayed and go for broke, it's gonna be Connor. He's gonna just go for it and not ever stop.
I can't wait.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting the next 7 episodes. Yep, absolutely.
My last question for you.
Yes.
Is it even worth it to watch without Brian Cox?
Oh, well, yes. I think, that's a good question. I think they
you came
knew that.
This far.
The reason they did it in the last season, they could have done it a lot later. But yeah, absolutely worth watching. I mean, that's a big pivot point of the show. One of the big reasons to watch it was him, but it's not the whole reason. That was this was the event we were waiting for. And I think they made a really good decision to do it early on. I think if you do it like in the second to last episode, it's like, okay, well, you didn't quite leave yourself enough runway to tell a good story. With what you have left, he dies. Okay, then what? You do like a flash forward maybe at the end of the last episode, but now you have 7 episodes left. You have enough time, you have enough runway to actually flesh out all these characters, give them time to make smart decisions, give people, again, this is the stuff I love talking about this stuff, because you give the public and you give the internet and you give all these people enough time to sort of speculate on what's going to happen. So I think with that respect of like what's going to happen, who's going to make what moves, it definitely is still worth watching.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was being hyperbolic for fans, but yeah.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, I think that'll do it. I think that'll wrap us up with this episode. Yeah, great episode of TV. Yep. Like I said, half the enjoyment. Love that you're watching this. Love that we can talk about this. Love that we can get our opinions out there and our effects what the show had on us out there on tape, on record for future listening. It's very fun.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, man. It's been great.
Yes, it has been great. So. Probably cutting back to the main show. I'm going to slide this in. Derek doesn't watch the show. So again, good to have somebody that we can, the intrepid Hollywood reporter can have you on when stuff breaks. When major media events happen, we can bring you on to discuss it, to break it all down.
Perfect. I like it.
Perfect. Exactly. So with that, we'll cut back to the main show. Can I say something right now? And we're back.
Wow, great discussion.
Great discussion.
That was great.
Magic of podcasting coming right back. So yes, speaking very broadly, very generally, no spoilers here for you. Just one of the greatest episodes of TV I've seen probably in a very long time. Trying to, we talked about in the conversation about, Breaking Bad, Ozymandias. We talked about, I don't have let me pull up my notes from that. Just talk about some of the episodes I've seen. What are some of your favorite episodes of TV all the time? We're talking about like Breaking Bad, and I think you mentioned at the top the Lost episode. What was that called?
Yeah, The Constant. The Constant. Okay. The Constant is far and away the greatest episode of television ever produced. That probably ever will be produced. It's phenomenal as a part of a longer narrative, but you can also just watch it on its own. There's that episode is. Speaking of emotionally intelligent, the way I can see a gif of a certain scene of that episode, and it will literally make me cry. That episode is just such an amazing emotional journey for these characters involved. It plays with storytelling that uses the way that the form of Lost that it is built up with the flashbacks, but it uses that form, but it does it in a new way that is completely different that we never see again or before, and it's so smart, it's so great. Desmond is such a great character. The love story between him and Penny is so great. He's on this survival thing. It's a cool time travel story. Just works on absolutely every level. It's phenomenal. Damon Lindelof wrote it. Jack Bender, who directed a lot of the greatest episodes of Lost, directed it. It's never going to be top for me. Some other ones, I would say, sticking with Damon Lindelof, the episode of The Leftovers, oh my gosh, I'm spacing on the name, but it's the one where he kind of goes to that hotel that is maybe the afterlife, or it is maybe he's just having like a brain aneurysm and like not getting enough oxygen. That episode, I wish I could remember the name of it.
The Book of Nora?
No. Did you watch The Leftovers?
Yeah.
It's the one where he goes to that like hotel and he's wearing the white suits. It's
it was one of the second to last episodes, or no?
No, it's in the middle of season 2.
Okay.
And then also
I Live Here Now, 1013.
No.
International Assassin, a most powerful adversary.
International Assassin.
Okay. Oh yes. He had to put his dick in the thing and like.
No, that's like the next International Assassin. That's also a really good episode. They kind of went back to it, but yeah. That's what you remember. I love it. But yeah. That episode is phenomenal. I'd say Start the or START. The last episode of The Americans is one of the greatest finales ever. It's so good and so tense and such a perfect ending for all of those characters. Hard to choose one episode of Chernobyl, maybe Chernobyl, and then the season 3 finale of Legend of Korra is speaking of Korra, is another really, really well written episode that just. There's a great video essay on it where it talks about the levels of irony that it uses, and Zahir is just one of the most interesting characters of all time. He's just such a fascinating villain, and his whole worldview coming into clash with Korra's worldview, and Korra is such an underrated show. People give it shit because it's not Avatar, but in my opinion, it just kind of is the next logical and more interesting step from that already phenomenal show.
All right, very cool. Yeah, just to, I don't know how to talk about this because it's what happened in it. So I'll just talk about like the technical stuff about it because they watched the post, the wrap up of it, the behind the scenes of it. Kieran Culkin plays Roman, one of the brothers. And he was saying like this, so the whole episode takes place within an hour and a half, so it's very much real time. It's not one shot, but it very much feels like it. And he was saying to the director of it, can we shoot this like 28 page scene like as a play, basically, as a one act play. And so what they ended up doing was placing, because they filmed the show, they shoot the show on film. So the cameras could only run for like 10 minutes at a time. So they had to film this like 40-minute scene with multiple cameras. So they had all of these like canisters of film hidden throughout the set.
So they shoot it on actual film? Like it's not shot digitally?
Right.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, it is a very interestingly shot show overall. This episode in particular, you can definitely feel that the cameras in a lot of people's faces. It feels very intrusive and very voyeuristic at a certain point. Just talking about the logistics of it and the acting of it. It was just one of the most incredibly acted episodes of TV I've ever seen. You know, there's scenes of people just breaking down and hearing about what happens and their faces and their emotions and their, you know, when you talk about like emotionally devastating things, a lot of times, especially I remember seeing this for the first time in something like Fight Club, where Fincher shoots the reaction to the violence on the ground. So I think the censors or somebody told him you can't show the guy getting beaten up, so he then showed the reaction to it, and that was even more impactful. This episode is very much that. You're not seeing the event itself, you're seeing people's reaction to it, and that is, I think, even more impactful than what actually happens. So you're watching, you know, Sarah Snook, Jeremy Strong, Matthew McFadden, Alan Ruck, they're all reacting to the event in their own way. Matthew McFadden is somewhere else, and they have to be talking on the phone. So there's a lot of that. There isn't a lot of like, you know, actor on actor. There's a lot of people in the room that they're interacting with. So that's a, you know, challenge right there. That's pretty impressive of what they did with that hurdle in front of them that they had to clear. Just overall some of these I can't talk about the, you know, the dialogue or the lines that they say that were so impactful, but
I'm sure you already talked about it with Dion.
I did, yes. And again, I don't think I said it at the top, but, you know, obviously massive spoilers for that conversation, so skip ahead, you know, half an hour from when I said the conversation starts to this point. But it's just, you probably heard, you know, you didn't hear about what happened in the episode, but you heard people saying, just fawning and coming all over themselves, saying this is the most, you know, greatest.
I mean, you and Joanna Robinson, that was the people I heard.
Oh, okay. So yes, I'm repeating what everybody else says, but yeah, just so you know, it's not hyperbole, it's not exaggeration. It is, in my opinion, one of the best episodes of TV. Yep.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, are you gonna wait till the end of the season to binge this? Is this what your plan is?
Probably, yeah. I mean, they just got a lot of stuff I gotta watch, and you know, I don't know when I want to get into Succession. You know, it's a lot. Seems like a lot.
A lot to process. Yeah, exactly.
I just binged through a season of another very intense HBO show, as we'll get to, but
okay, all right, we'll talk about that later. Very quickly, just some of the stuff I've been reading. Listened to a lot of stuff. Listened to a lot of audiobooks recently. Listened to Gathering of Shadows and A Conjuring of Light. They were a Darker Shade of Magic trilogy by V.E. Schwab. The first book, it really got me. Really. Pulled me into the world, because it was this thing where you have layers of different parallel universes sitting on top of each other. You have gray London, you have white London, you have black London, and you have red London. And each of these different parallel worlds... What about
purple London?
There's no purple London, apparently.
No. That's lame.
Yeah. So they are different variations on magic. Each gray London is pretty much our world. We have no magic here. And the idea that the what do you call that? The process or the premise of the book is there's like an emanating energy of magic next to the red London, and gray London's too far to feel it, and black London was too close to it, so it burned up. Very interesting concept for the world, but then it just sort of devolves into a very paint by numbers fantasy epic of, you know, kings and queens and jesters and just, you know, backstabbing and very, very contrived and paint by numbers, like I said, fantasy world. So unfortunately didn't dig that too much. Did read My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Odessa Moshfegh. I believe that is how you pronounce her name. If you ever watched like movies like Less Than Zero or American Psycho and Fight Club, it has that, Gen X malaise, that like, what are we doing here? It takes place in like 1999, 2000, so right before 9/11. And it's very much just her recently like, what are we doing here? What's the point of life? I'm just going to drink and be on drugs and she's mentioning like, 17 different uppers and downers and just taking all these pills. And it's very, very well written version of that, so recommend that if you just want to like a upper crust bougie white lady having her problems in a pre-2000 America. So that was an interesting read. What else? All right. What have you been reading?
So I took a break from Lord of the Rings to read a graphic novel biography by Maya, and I'm probably mispronouncing this, Maya Kobabi.
Looks right.
And it's called Genderqueer, and it's basically about this person's kind of coming to terms with her being a non-binary individual and dealing with her sexuality and wondering when they were a kid, like what like they were like, oh, I'm attracted to boys, but I'm also attracted to girls. Am I bi? And they were talking about how A always fell in between these kind of things. It's a really interesting, just kind of examination of the spectrum of gender, and it's a really interesting just biography, just some very just poignant stories, very just some stuff I wouldn't have read necessarily anywhere else. Very honest and very deep portrayal of this person's life and their childhood and grappling with this identity. I found it very, very enjoyable. I would highly recommend it to anybody, especially people who are, in the grips of trying to figure themselves out. So I liked it quite a bit.
Nice, very cool. How many graphic novels have you read in your life that were like this?
That were like this? Zero. Like, I haven't read anything. Okay. I need to read more. Like, it's in the same vibe of like Fun House or like something like that. But or a Mouse or something.
Mouse,
But I have not gotten a chance to read enough stuff like this, so I wanted to, do something different.
Yes, I just linked in the chat a book called Day Tripper. This is probably one of my favorite books, not just graphic novels, one of my favorite books of all time. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. It's about a guy who is, he has different he goes down different life paths, basically. He starts when he's like 27 and he's a failing writer and he's trying to live in his dad's shadow. And each chapter is a different part of his life and a different mistake path that he's going down. So one of them is he's 22 and he's with his friend on the beach and he sees a beautiful woman. Instead of going back to his job with his friend, he follows this woman on the water. And then the next chapter is him with that woman, but they're arguing and they're fighting. And then it sort of goes to, his friend dies on a work trip, and so that wasn't quote unquote supposed to happen. So then the next chapter is, what if that didn't happen? What if his friend lived? And what if he met a woman in a grocery store and they then he runs out and tries to get her number, but he gets hit by a car. Then it cuts to 5 years later when they did meet and he didn't die. So it's one of my favorite books I've ever read, just because it's based on all of the different chapters.
It's based on The Butterfly Effect starring Ashton Kutcher.
Exactly. It's based on that exact movie.
Yeah.
No, it's it's a lot of don't get distracted in life. Don't tunnel vision. Don't look at one part of your life. You have to look at your life as a whole. And each chapter is him going on a work trip as opposed to being home with his wife when she's pregnant. And he's in one of them is he's in the hospital and his wife is giving birth and his mother tells him that she needs something from the house, and so he leaves and misses the birth. So it's a lot of be present in your life, be present for these big moments in your life, and just don't get distracted by the little things. So one of my favorite books I've ever read. Highly recommend checking that out.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
they might have even referenced that in like he did I'm always forgetting the person's pronouns, but
Yeah.
they do reference a few graphic novels, and this might have been one of them. I can't
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah, I was into them for a long time. Like in the early 2000s, the movie Ghost World was based on a really interesting graphic novel. There was another one, American Splendor, was a graphic novel series. I forget the guy's name. Harvey Pekar was the guy that the art was based on that movie on, based on the graphic novel on. So yeah, I was really into these sort of weird, out there, independent graphic novels about just regular ass people as opposed to superhero stuff. So
yeah, you should check out Genderqueer. It's pretty interesting, and it's a quick read. I got through it in I would just read it on my breaks at work, and so I got through it in like 2 shifts.
Yeah, I definitely.
It's not too much of a commitment, and it's one of those books that has been banned a bunch of places, which is why it's been getting a lot of popularity, because people are the worst.
People are the worst. Yes, exactly. Let's see. So let's get to some stuff we've been watching. Haven't watched a ton of stuff. Been doing the Tarkov stuff. Been into that. Got Dion into that recently, so I've been helping him out in the game with him. Last night I saw 2 movies. I saw Air, the new movie directed by Ben Affleck, written by Alex Convery. Also stars Matt Damon, Jason Bateman. Let's see who else. There's a bunch of people in this. Chris Messina plays Michael Jordan's agent in this. He's very funny. He's very larger than life. Chews scenery in every scene he's in. He's great in this. Viola Davis obviously plays his mother. Chris Tucker's in this. So if you're living under a rock and don't know what this is about, this is the making of the shoe, the Air Jordan, in I believe 84, 85. Jordan has just graduated college or just left college to go to the NBA. He's going to have his rookie year, either that year or the following year. And their Nike is trying to sign him to a deal. And it's very funny. I didn't realize how funny this movie was going to be. Affleck is a guy that's never really been too funny to me. Damon.
What about all those Dunkin' commercials? Hey, it's me. I'm Affleck. I'm up the Dunkin' Donuts. I'm taking up the limit for Jen.
It's so weird, dude. To Mr. Affleck,
how about
you haven't
apples?
lived in Boston in 40 fucking years. What is this accent that you're doing, man?
He's got in Dunkin', man. He's got. Hey, it's me, Ben. I'm working at Dunkin'.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
The fucking Departed.
His fucking accent I remember watching it in Good Will Hunting when whenever it came out, was it 98, 97 around then? And I was like, he sounds like an asshole. I can just tell. Just been looking at his face and his mouth. I'm like,
he is an asshole.
He is an asshole, but I was looking at his face.
He's an asshole.
He's an asshole, exactly. I am too. I'm proud of it. Proud asshole. His just demeanor just screams like upper crust bougie fuck. And we're like, dude, you've never worked construction in your life. Don't pretend like you have. Get the fuck out of here.
Damian, every day is the best part of his day. Is when he looks and he's not sure if Matt Damon's gonna come out. That's the best part of his day.
Fucking Poughkeepsie. Peabody. Let me put a town in here, town in Massachusetts, and see if you can pronounce this town. Okay. Let me see here. I'm gonna put this name in here. Is that how you spell it? Hold on, let me make sure I'm spelling it right, because I might be spelling it phonetically. Where is this? Nope, did not spell it right. Hold on. You'll never get this. Maybe you will.
Well, it's not if you spell it wrong.
You might get it just because it's famously a town that is that's not how you say that word. It is. What'd you say?
Worcester.
That town is pronounced Worcester.
Oh, so it's not like the sauce. All right, here. Tell me if you can read this one. This is a California town, but I'm pretty sure there's one on the East Coast too.
Yes. Peabody. Yeah. Well, that's Huntington. Isn't that just Huntington? Huntington?
Okay, yeah. People pronounce the T and it drives me crazy.
Huntington?
People call it Huntington, and I'm like, no, it's Huntington. People pronounce that T, and I'm like,
yeah, no.
I remember they went to the College World Series, or the Little League World Series years back, and ESPN was like, Huntington wins again. This has been Accent Corner with Derek and Damian.
Let me put some more in here, because there's some crazy ones. Let me link you to this site here. Actually, let me do this first. Let me put this in here. I'll put the spelling of the town, and then you tell me how you think it's pronounced.
Leicester?
Leicester. That is Leicester.
That was close. Like Uncle. Oh, no, that's Uncle Fester. Never mind.
Yes. This is a famous one. You might get it.
Gloucester?
Where is it?
Gloucester?
Gloucester.
Ah. Okay.
Yep. Let's see. Let's do this one. This is fun.
Haverhill?
Haverhill.
Haverhill. Okay.
Yep. What is that? I don't think I even know this one. What is this?
Let me see. Hold on. I have no idea. I'm not even going to attempt that one.
Yeah. Let me put the pronunciation in here. This is funny. Cochichuit. Cochichuit, yeah.
All right, here. Let me try. Let me give you one here.
Yes.
This is
great audio.
Close to me. Yeah, exactly. People are going to be loving this.
Yep.
Let's see how white you are.
San Juan Capistrano.
Hey, you got it. There you go.
Yeah. You know. Right, I know some of that stuff. Yeah.
You're better than some of the people that live here then.
Yeah, what do people say?
San Juan Capistrana?
Capistrana? What is that? Why is there a New York person living in California?
No, it's just white people, man. They're the worst.
So the second movie I saw yesterday, I did a double feature, was trying to do a triple feature, but couldn't quite manage it. I saw Renfield, the new Chris McKay movie. Nicholas Hoult, Nicolas Cage, and Awkwafina and Ben Schwartz round out this cast. This is an interesting movie. A lot of the reviews I saw for this, early reviews I saw for this, line up with my assessment of it, which is Awkwafina didn't need to be in this movie. They didn't need to have her sort of B plot in this movie drags the entire thing down. Her B plot is basically like she plays a cop, and her father was killed by other corrupt cops, and so she's now trying to work her way up the force. And there's way too much like her and her sister and her sort of plot line in this movie. Every time it cuts away from the good stuff, from the Nicholas Hoult and Nicolas Cage doing their just great chemistry, doing their great storyline and their sort of back and forth in this movie. They're great. I love Ben Schwartz. Obviously, he's incredible. Let me just tell you, he has one of the best deaths I've seen in a very long time. He gets kicked in
for me. I don't want to know this. I'm going to watch the movie.
Come on,
don't
man.
fucking tell me. I'm going to take my headphones off.
It's a ridiculous death in a ridiculous 3-star movie. Okay, go ahead. I'll just tell the audience. So he gets kicked in the stomach, and his guts and his poo-poo come out. His guts come out of his throat, and his poo-poo comes out his butt. So there's that. I'm done. So
all right. You done with the spoilers?
I'm done for the 3-second stunt spoiler. That's
Oh my god.
Oh, I do want to say real quickly, great movie going experience. Had a great packed house. Everybody laughed at this. I think it definitely pushed this from a 3-star movie to a 3.5-star movie for me. Very, very funny. Nicholas Hoult's very funny. He was talking in interviews about working in this movie with Ben Schwartz and Awkwafina, who were both people that, do a lot of ad-libbing in their scenes. You can definitely tell when they do that, and it's very funny. I do want to say though, what's your thoughts on Awkwafina as a person, as an actress? When she comes,
I think she's funny. I think she's good. I liked her in Shang-Chi.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I want to see that one show where she's like a stoner who lives at home or something like that. That seems pretty funny.
Awkwafina from Brooklyn. What's it called? Awkwafina from Queens.
Nora from Queens.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. I find her grating. I find her whole thing grating. I think she tries too hard to be funny. I think people rightly sort of are squeamish about her accent or whatever she's doing with her sort of blackish flourishes, that the thing that she does. It's like, that's not great.
It's code switching.
Doesn't work for me. You don't code switch as an Asian person in a movie. You can code switch in real life if you're around other people that are actually that skin tone. You can do that, but not in a movie. That doesn't make any sense.
Listen, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to get too, sure. But like where she was raised, like I'm not gonna I don't know too much about it, but
sure.
if she, whatever.
Sure,
I don't know.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay. There's a woman in here with this name. I'm gonna put this into the chat because I don't want to butcher that at all. I don't know if you've seen this actress, but she was very good in the Expanse show.
Did you like fall over on your keyboard? What is that?
Come on, that's rude.
Is that another one of those towns that you want me to pronounce?
Exactly. This is this person. She was in. Okay. I don't know if you've ever seen The Expanse. I'm not sure what else she's been in. She's a very distinctive voice.
More distinctive than Aquafinas?
It is very. It's more. Yes, more distinctive and more organic and more authentic and less racist. So she's in this. What else are we going to say about this? Yeah, very funny. Very funny. Physical comedy. I think Ben Schwartz is a very funny person, obviously. Yeah. A lot of laugh out loud moments, but too much Aquafina and too much of her story in this, unfortunately. But yeah, still highly recommend checking this out if you want a good funny, April movie. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds pretty cool.
Good. Yes. Let's get to what you've been watching. You watched the other movie that I wanted to watch, and the movie that we already teased. I believe we talked a little about it, the Super Mario Brothers movie. What would you give that? Like a 2, basically?
I would give that a 2. Yeah, that movie. It's 2. There's some things in it that I did enjoy, and by things I mean Jack Black's performance and Anya Taylor-Joy's performance. But I didn't even like Charlie Day in this. Like, it was.
Oh wow.
It was like it was just a lot of nothing. It was like, what is the point of having? I mean, I get the point is to have like people that can be on your late night circuits and promote the movie, but yeah. I don't know. Like it was just so bland and nothing. It was absolutely devoid of anything that was interesting other than like, hey, cool, his ringtone is the GameCube sound.
Yeah, okay, I'll check it out myself. But what do you think of Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves?
So this Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves is the complete opposite of the Super Mario Bros. Movie. This movie feels like it has all of those flourishes and all of those things that make it a recognizable adaptation of this very famous property that does not have a clear storyline or a coherent thing. It's because it's a video game or a tabletop thing where you can kind of do different things and play different kinds of ways, but they're still from a very distinct world with a lot of lore and a lot of things that happen in the games that are recognizable. And this did all of that in a way that completely worked, because if you take just watch the Super Mario Bros. Movie with no context, it's nothing. But if you watch the D&D movie without any context, it's a fun action-adventure movie that is reminiscent of those kind of movies from like the 90s, like The Mummy or Pirates of the Caribbean or something like that. But with all of those flourishes, as someone who does play D&D, I was like, wow, this is perfect, because the plot in this feels like something that would happen in a D&D story. Like one of the very first scenes, it's like, oh, there's these characters and they have to get out of a situation, and it's a very simple way for them to get out of this situation. They're about to do it, but they have to make everything so much more complex and throw all wrench in the works. And that works if you know D&D, because you're like, this is exactly what these players would do. They would just overcomplicate everything. But if you don't play D&D, you're like, this is a funny scene. And so it really worked on both of those levels. It was my of 2023. We're only a quarter of the way through the year, but it's been my favorite 2023 film so far. I absolutely loved this movie. It was 4.5 out of 5 stars for me. Would recommend to anyone.
Oh, very nice. Very cool. Was there did they use actual spells from the game and moves and things like that?
Yeah, they did. And some of them they call out. Some of them it's just like you can see it and you're like, oh, that's probably what that was, Yeah. That's what this is. There's a whole great scene, excuse me, where they do this very iconic spell called Raise Dead from the games. And they do it you've probably seen the trailer, in a very comical way. And a way that really was hilarious and felt like it could have been something from the game. But then there's also, little callbacks and little things to other things. And, what every character is clearly, Chris Pine is a bard, Michelle Rodriguez is a barbarian. There's, Sophia Lillis is a druid. But other than the sorcerer, I don't think they ever call anyone their class, but they clearly all are these different kinds of characters that you would play in the game, but they don't like call attention to it, but you notice it at the same time. So I really dug all that.
Nice, very cool. Let me ask you. So they don't name the classes by name in the movie?
No, I don't think like anyone's like, well, Chris Pine, you're a bard. I do think that they say that the character Justice Smith, they're like, oh, they say he's a wizard, with like sorcerer blood or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the most part, they don't like call attention to like, oh, Michelle Rodriguez, you're a level 13 barbarian or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Let me ask you something about D&D. There's multiple different groups and business, not businesses, but like, you know, I met Mercer and the whole D20 thing. That's huge. They do, you know, they have their own characters and they stay in their characters for the D&D session. When you play in D&D, are you playing a character or are you just like yourself and you're going to do yourself? Like you're going to throw the die and you're going to be like, okay, I say this as a character. How do you play your D&D, as a character or just yourself?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm the DM and I'm running things, I'm, you know,
the DM, yeah,
running everything. But like, if I'm a character, then I'm, you know, doing my character to the point where, there's me in one of the campaigns, my main campaign that I'm in. My character's named Lysander, and I will say like, you know, I will kind of go back and forth between Lysander does this and I do this, but it's very clear when I'm talking out of character, when I'm talking in character, where, you know, like I'll make jokes and I'll say them in my normal voice, but I'll put on like a certain affect to my voice when I'm Lysander. I'll be a little bit more like this or something, you know. So you know, it is. I'm not me. I'm Lysander. Right. You know, I'm definitely playing a character.
Yeah. So like, let's say you're just like at a shop, right? And you're in the campaign, you're in a shop. Does the things you do, does that affect the result of the transaction? Like if you're going up to a merchant and you're like, can I get a discount? You roll for the success of that interaction, right?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how your DM wants to run it, because every DM will do things differently. Some DMs are very, very by the book, and you know, they're just like, oh, well, whatever's written in the story, we have to do. I don't really love that style. Yeah. But you know, like if my players came to me and they're like, oh, hey, you know, I don't DM anymore, but when I did, it would be like, oh, we're at this guy and they want to haggle. I'll be like, okay, you want to haggle? Sure, go ahead and roll a persuasion check. Or if you're trying to intimidate him, roll intimidation check. Or you're trying to lie to him, roll a deception check. You know, you can. That's the good thing about it. It's not like a video game where you only have a certain amount of options. You can literally do whatever you want and change the story any way you want, and things will turn out differently. It's based on just how creative you can be as a player.
Yeah, because that's what I was wondering of, like, you know, you go up to the merchant and you're like, hey, I would please like a discount, and that's, you know, that's charisma, or that's, you know, that's a different skill set, right? So how do you sort of navigate that when you go up to a merchant and you're like, when you start out, does your character have like, you know, intimidation levels, and your charisma level is a certain point, and you know, stuff like that. So when you go up to the merchant, let's say your charisma is higher than your intimidation, then you would just use, you know, can I please have a discount? As opposed to, I'm going to cut your head off if you don't give me a discount. You would only ever say, you know, please, or would you, as a character, if your intimidation is low, you just wouldn't try to intimidate the guy? Is that how that works?
I mean, yeah, you probably want to lead into what skills you have, but every situation is going to be different. If you looks like this guy is not going to be persuaded, then you might try a different tactic. You know, I also would, you know, because you start out with different levels. Everyone has the same amount of skills they can pull from, but they're going to be better or worse at certain skills depending on what they took when they started, and you know, if they've taken anything, they've leveled up and stuff like that. But it also depends. Like if you're like, I walk up to the guy and I say, please give me a discount, then I'm gonna like, okay, cool, roll your perception, and I'm gonna be like, you're gonna have to roll really well to do this. But if you come up and you're like, I walk up to the gentleman and say, hello there, sir, you're looking very well, and I would like to purchase some of your wares, and I was wondering perhaps if you like do a good job of like role playing it out and like making things, I'll be like, all right, you know, this is gonna be an easier check instead of having to roll, and you'll roll your D20, you'll add your score, And so instead of like being like, okay, you have to beat a 20, I might be like, you have to beat a 10 because you played it really well. This is going to be an easier check.
That's what I was wondering. If you put more, you know, you put more stuff on if you put more effort into saying the thing, then will the DM be like, okay, yeah, you said a cool thing. I like the way you said that, so I'm gonna help you out there.
Typically, not every DM is going to be different. Some DMs might be like, we're playing a pre-written adventure and it says they have to have this kind of check to get by the thing. But typically that's not the case. Typically DMs are pretty lenient and let you players be pretty creative.
Yeah. One last question I had about D&D. I go to work. I work with a guy who plays D&D as well, and he was saying how recently the updates, the most recent D&D version, is moving towards a more like level fielded sort of. Everyone has similar attributes, like you were saying, so everybody can kind of do almost anything. Like a bard can do a lot of things that they basically have more of a like an even playing field when it comes to the stats. So you can do a lot of this like same stuff as the other classes can do. And I was playing like MMOs for a long time, and I liked the fact that you are a white mage or a black mage. And the black mage does damage, and the white mage heals. It's like you have separate classes for separate reasons. Have people that min-max those stats to be the best healer they can be, or they can min-max stats to be the best damage dealer they can be. Do you like the system where a rogue can cast spells, or do you prefer those classes to be more compartmentalized?
Yeah, I like it when the classes are more compartmentalized because if you want to play a certain class, you pick that class.
Yeah.
What you're describing sounds a lot like 4th edition, which is not really used anymore.
Yeah.
Where they everyone was just like a wizard pretty much. Like everyone got like, once you got the higher levels, got all these essentially spells you could do. Like fighters were still fighters, and they would just say, "Oh, you do this thing," but it would still just be so. Like I was in my campaign a fighter for a while, and then I was like, you know what? I got to like level 7 in fighter, and I was like, I think I want to take some levels in bard. You can do that. You can multi-class. So I, instead of getting to level 8 bard, I was level 7, or letting level 8 fighter. I was level 7 bard with a level 1 or level. I keep doing that. Level 7 fighter with a level 1 bard, and I took a little bit. So you can do this stuff like that too, where you can dip into other things and get some experience over here, but that means you're not getting further experience in your main thing. So, because I wanted to do some cool magic shit. I was tired of just hitting stuff. Fighter does get a little bit boring after a while, but
right.
Everybody has their own tastes, and that's what's cool. Everyone has their own, like you're saying, like MMORPGs. You need like your cleric to be a healer, or you need your barbarian to go in and take a lot of damage, or your ranger to sit back and snipe, whatever it might be.
Yes, yeah, they had like a red mage in Final Fantasy 14, or in 11 and 14. Red mage was basically like that jack of all trades. They could do hand to hand. They could do dark spells. They could do light spells. They could do buffing, AOE buffing, so they could give everyone like Phalanx, which was protect all basically. So they had a class like that in the MMO, but for the most part, it was paladins, it was dark knights. Paladins, do the paladin thing. Dark knights are more dark magic based.
They're like Batman.
They're like Batman, exactly. They run away. They pretend that they killed Harvey Dent and they run away. Dark Knight, Paladin, Red Mage was fun. I did Black Mage for a while. That was very, what do you call it? Glass cannon. They do a lot of damage, but they're very squishy characters. What else was there? Yeah, just crowd control people. Bards were always good. They had bards in Final Fantasy thing. Yeah, could you do? I know I said the last question, but do they have like? You said you could go in and be a archer. Can you do like side quests or like crafting? Could you have craft skills where you can like do woodworking and leather crafting and things like that?
Yeah, there's certain skills you can take. There's ways you can get them when you level up. Instead of like leveling up your attributes, you can like take feats, and sometimes they will let you do things. A lot of times you'll start based on your background with like skills and different things. So yeah, it's not necessarily, it's not like a side quest thing like a video game. It's more of like when you level up you get stuff, but a DM might even be like, you you spent a lot of time doing this, so now you know, in your like downtime, you like, oh, I want to work on this or whatever. So you now learn woodworking. Like when I was taking my classes in Bard, my DM was like, okay, you gotta like take some time and practice with the Bard in the group and learn to play the flute, and you gotta whittle your own flute. And it was
Whittle your own flute. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was. This might mean nothing to anyone, but when I was whittling my flute, he had me do two checks. One was to see how it looked, and I did horrible, and one was to see how it played, and I got a natural 20. So it like looks real fucking janky, but it plays amazing. I just imagine it like Adventure Time Finn's like janky flute, but he plays it beautifully, like the same vibe.
That's amazing. We'll have to try that sometime. So next up on the list, you got Last of Us. How many episodes have you seen of this so far?
Oh, I binged it. I got through the whole thing.
Very nice. What'd you think?
I thought this was incredible. This was one of the best shows I've seen in a very long time. I just love how morally complex it all was, and I thought I loved how like they would just go and to these different places and meet these people, and every episode would be looking forward, but they would just be like, okay, what's going on in this town that is terrible, and just every episode would just end with such a gut punch. You're like, oh my god! Like episode 3 was great. Episode 5, where like the ending of that just got me, and then the end of the whole show. I went back and because I was obviously muted when you and Dion were talking about it. I listened to your discussion with Dion, and I thought that was really interesting. So yeah, I really dug all of this show.
Yeah, it was incredible watching it week to week, hearing it break down each episode. I haven't played the game, so I'm not sure how that compares to the game. But yeah, just the I would say honestly, it needed to either more episodes overall or more episodes focusing on Joel and Ellie. I think the episodes where they went to the other characters, like episode 3 was one of the best episodes of that season. I really enjoyed that. I don't want them to take that stuff out, but I also would like them to sort of supplement the Joel and Ellie relationship. I felt like they did a lot of great world building and a lot of great character building of other people, of Melanie Griffith's character. She was really great in this. All of the other side characters and all of the other side stories were really great, and I really think they added to the world and made it more robust. But I feel like they needed to add maybe 1 or 2 more episodes of Joel and Ellie together near the end.
I disagree. I think it was the perfect length, and maybe it's because I binged it and just like watched them together. Like you had these big gaps watching it week to week, but like binging it as I did, like I got to just like watch them just kind of go along on this long journey, and then they would have like a break, and it's like, okay, it's like 4 months later, and then you'd have it just felt like very well doled out. It's like, okay, now they're fighting at the beginning, but then you have the whole test thing, and then he's kind of like begrudgingly going along with her. Now he's starting to become protective, and like the teachers are this, and then they go through all these horrible things, and I really dug that. And I also just wanted to say, after listening to your kind of debate with Dion, not debate, because you basically just told him how it is, and he was like, yeah, okay, I think that. But I think that you were right in what you were saying about that it probably wouldn't. Spoilers.
Yes.
Everyone.
Yes.
But how it was right about how it probably would not have made a difference what happened with Ellie. Like they probably would not have been able to retroactively make a cure. But I don't think that excuses anything Joel does. I think that Joel, like Dion was kind of saying, it's completely inconsequential to Joel. It does not matter that she was like able to cure the people, and both. And there's even that moment where it's like, well, that what would her choice be? And you're not giving her. Neither of those characters were giving her a choice,
right?
And I think that probably her choice would have been to try and save the world, at least try.
Yeah.
But she didn't want to do that. And I think honestly, the more damning thing for Joel was not going in and shooting a bunch of people and killing the doctor and whatever. But the more damning thing was him lying to her.
Sure.
After she's like, tell me the truth. Because I think, he absolutely doesn't care. And it's something I was thinking about, and, neither of us obviously have kids, but like Dion was saying, like, he's like, he has a daughter, and like I think he alluded to saying like he would do the same thing, like I was like thinking what my dad would probably do. That I just had this funny image of my dad who like walks with a limp, just running in like, So, I think that's speaking about this unconditional love that he has for her, and It's just really fascinating because it's like, yeah, that is a good thing, but also, it's so morally complex, and I don't think there is a real right answer to what he should have done, because if he hadn't done that, that would, like you were saying, it probably wouldn't have made a difference, but that's not why he was doing it. So
Right.
I thought all of that was very, very fascinating, and I just thought every episode it got more and more complex, and to end on that, I was like, oh my, it was such a gut punch.
Yeah, one of the best shows this year, one of the best HBO shows in a long time. Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting going forward. I know I haven't played either game, but I did some. I've seen a lot of the videos. I've seen a lot of the story about what's coming up in the next part of the game, or part of the story. And when that game came out, I think the second game came out in 2020, and when it came out, it was very divisive.
I remember a lot of people being, like some people being like, this is the worst, and some people being like, I love this. I didn't hear any details, so no spoilers, please. No. But I remember, people being very, very divided on where they fell on the way that they left things.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to see how that hits more general audiences. It'd be very interesting to see how if they do change anything, what they change, because they did change some stuff from the game in the show. Very interested to see how they present it. Yeah, all that stuff. Can't wait for more of that. Yep.
Yeah.
The last thing you have on here is Jury Duty. This is an ad I see pop up on TikTok a lot. This is James Marsden in a Joe Schmo show. Do you know what the Joe Schmo show was?
I fucking love the Joe Schmo show. That was one of the reasons I was on board with this.
Right.
I absolutely loved season 1 of that. It was so brilliant and funny, and just kind of just taking down reality TV.
Yeah, for anybody that doesn't know what the Joe Schmo show is, it was a very early reality show, in the early 2000s, right?
It was 2004 or 3 or something like that.
Somewhere around there. It was basically one guy was a real person, didn't know what the story was or what anything else was going on, and the rest of the crew and the rest of the cast was in on it, and it was like a reality show where it had a loose storyline, and they had to play around, make Joe think he was on a real, quote unquote, real reality show. So this is basically what that is, right? What Jury Duty is. Yeah,
except in Joe Schmo, when the people would have asides, they would be like, okay, they would break character. They would be like, yeah, he did. They would talk about Joe, he did this. We're curious to see what he does here. This is just an improv comedy office style show. It's made by one of the showrunners of The Office, but just one person doesn't realize that it's that. So it's even more just there's even there's asides where people are talking to the camera and he's not there. They're just doing this whole improv thing, and it just has this extra wrench of also being a Joe Schmo thing at the same time. And the guy is so hilarious. He's so funny. They got the perfect guy to do. Then James Marsden, that's one thing that always gets me, is when celebrities play just obnoxious, ridiculous versions of themselves. I love Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23, where Kristen James Vanderbeek is basically doing the same thing. And James Marsden's so good, where he's just keeps talking about shows and movies. He's alluding that he's going to be in a Quentin Tarantino movie, and so it's so funny.
That's awesome. My guy, is it on Freevee, right? Freevee TV?
It's on Freevee, so literally anyone can watch it. It used to be IMDb TV. It's owned by Amazon, so it's Amazon's free app that you can just watch it on. So
amazing.
Check it out. It's so good.
Very cool. All right, so before we get to letterbox assignments and before we get to plugs, let's take a quick break. So we can go to the bathroom, and we will be right back. And we're back. Letterbox assignments this week. Damian had The Help. I did not watch it, unfortunately. Didn't have time. Couldn't fit that in my busy schedule. Busy beaver over here. Derek, you got Loving. This is Jeff Nichols, one of my favorite directors. One of my favorite directors from the 2010s. What do you think of Loving?
I really enjoyed this movie. It, of course, for anybody who's not familiar, is about the case of Loving v. Virginia, which was the case that ruled that interracial marriage would be legal in the entire country, and that blocks on that were illegal. And this happened in 1967. So, way to go, USA. Keep being fucking racist until goddamn this late 60s. Yep. It's really a very interesting emotional story. It's interesting because you realize you're watching, you think, these are going to be these huge like Rosa Parks, Jackie Robinson-esque figures, but they're just kind of like a normal people. They're just like people that fell in love that happen to be of different races and lived in a state where that was illegal, and they just wanted to be in love and not be these huge public figures. And there's even a little bit of, I wouldn't call it strife, but a little bit of just, Joel Edgerton, who plays Richard Loving. He just kind of, all he cares about is being with his wife, and he doesn't really seem to care about the movement in general. Like, and then Ruth Negga, who plays Mildred, is more kind of like, well, we can help other people out, but they're both very quiet, internal people. Both are very, introverted, and it's really good. They both give these very reserved performances. Ruth got nominated for an Academy Award for this. When you think of great performances, a lot of times you're thinking of very big, bombastic ones, but these are very small, poignant performances. There's a moment when she's on the phone and she basically finds out that the ACLU is going to take their case and they're going to do it pro bono, and she just has the subtlest little like movements in her face, but it's so emotionally affecting and poignant and powerful. So I would really recommend this movie to anyone. It was made in 2016, so it was poignant then. It's poignant again now, about how people are still fighting for marriage equality. People are still fighting for being able to marry who they want to. People in same-sex marriages, that is theoretically in danger with the Supreme Court that we have now. So it's really, really great film, I thought.
Yeah, very cool. It's just ridiculous, the things that are going on right now. Even 40 years, 50 years after this, the events of this movie.
50 years, yeah.
Clarence Thomas, the Black Supreme Court justice, his wife is white, and he would probably vote against that. He would vote to not be allowed to be married to his own wife.
He after they got rid of Roe v. Wade, he named off a bunch of other cases that he wanted to repeal, and one of them was the gay marriage one. And it's like, people are like, he only didn't mention Loving is because he's in an interracial marriage.
Yes, exactly. I think last time you mentioned the actor in one of the new Ted Lasso episodes. I mentioned he was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Ruth Negga is in
yes, she is.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I was
Raina.
like, yeah, because I remember watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. about when this was happening. I was like, oh yeah, she's like, I was like, wait a minute, is that Ruth Negga? And she's like, yeah, she's really good in it too.
Yeah.
I remember like that happening and being like, this is weird.
Yeah, she's a fantastic actress. I loved her in Passing from 2021 as well. So
that's still on my list. We'll see if it comes up today on the roulette.
Let's see what we get. Yeah, speaking of the roulette, let me go to my watch list. Let me sort by services. Where is that service? Oh, it's already there. Okay. My services. Sort by my services. Go to shuffle. Let's see what we get. Oh boy. Let's see. So a little bit of problem because Monty Python and the Holy Grail popped up first, but I know you've seen that. I'm not sure why that's on there. So there's some other.
You just gotta watch The Help.
I'll watch The Help. Okay, I'll do that. Yes, I'll do that. Because there's a bunch of shit on here that's like, there's a Pakistani movie on here. There's We Met in Virtual Reality. Have you heard of this one? We Met in Virtual Reality.
No, where are you getting these movies?
It was a
and putting them on your
documentary
Letterboxd from?
in 2022. It was filmed entirely inside the world of virtual reality. A documentary about people that met on VR chat and got married in the game. So that was something that seemed interesting to me at that time.
Well, I mean, I lived with a guy. My old roommate that he met somebody on Final Fantasy Online, so I don't need to watch a documentary. I watched it happen.
All right, so I'll put The Help again. That'll be my assignment. How about you? Go to your shuffle list and shuffle and let me know what you
I just
got.
hit shuffle. You know what? Here we go. This is perfect because it's the one that I got that I didn't. I got a couple weeks ago that I missed watching, but it's an education. So I will make sure to watch it this time because it was not available last time. I got this like a month or two ago, but it's on. Stay with me. Our favorite free app. Freebie.
Nice.
Yes, there we go. So I guess I'm watching An Education starring
Yes.
Carey Mulligan and Peter Skarsgård.
Yes, I like both those people. All right, let's do some plugs before we get out of here. Medium blog is there if you want it. I gotta get back into that again. Letterbox B for Benedetta, B_4_Benedetta, 4 away from 100 followers. So get me to 100, please. Just friend me there, and I'll friend you. I'll follow you back as we do. Film SAS on YouTube, Anchor.com. It's now Spotify for podcasters. Go there to make a free podcast. And I'll check out all the interviews. I talked about Day Tripper on this episode. I was on the episode of iFanboy, did an episode of theirs early on in the pandemic, and
Nice.
we talked about Day Tripper there. Yep. And I had them on my podcast last year. So check out that interview. I go over where they came from. They were one of the people that started a podcast back in like, I want to say 2006 or 7, whenever the first ones got going. So they've been doing it for a long time. They're one of the originators. They are seasoned veterans. They are elder statesmen of this thing we're doing here. One of the reasons I did this was because of them. So check out their stuff over there. Derek, what you got to plug?
Nice. My plug is, as always, the Underrated podcast, the other podcast that I do. It is released every other Monday, so same day that this comes out. Underrated also comes out. This week we are talking about The Game, the 1997 David Fincher film. Speaking of Fincher, starring Michael Douglas, we had on a couple really cool guests from the podcast Films and Stuff. So Pete and Ethan came on and talked about that with us. So check that out wherever you listen to podcasts. Look up Underrated or look up Undercast Company, and we're on all the socials and all the podcast apps there.
I fucking love The Game. I saw it recently, in the last 3 years. Yes, I mean, no spoilers here, but Jesus Christ, that movie, right?
Right.
Whew, I mean, just real quick. That last scene everything had to come together perfectly. He had to fall in a perfect way. That thing had to catch him. What the fuck?
That was actually a little bit of an issue for me. I was like, how did everything come together so perfectly?
Oof. Anyways, yeah, definitely check that out. I'll be listening to that to see what you guys thought of that. That's just an insane movie. So Can I Say Something? I've been Damian.
And I've been Derek.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.